In the constantly changing world of fundability, the big question is this: how are entrepreneurs and real estate investors like us, ones who want to grow our businesses and who are tired of paying for really expensive alternative lending, how do we tap into the most inexpensive money available and do it without the hassle of typical borrowing? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. Welcome to the Get Fundable podcast with your host, Merrill Chandler.
Welcome. Merrill Chandler here, your host of the Get Fundable podcast. And in this episode, no joke, we're going for the business funding throat. Why are you getting denied because of the words that are used in the name of your business or in the business purpose? You're literally telling by the way you name your company, by the way that you describe your company, you're literally telling lenders, don't lend to me. I'll see you on the inside. Welcome back, everybody. Merrill Chandler here, your host of the Get Fundable podcast and your guide to the fundability universe. Today. Have you ever had the experience where you're going A to Z, you know, in your business, your profession, you're built, let's say for my real estate investors out there, my franchise owners, people who are business entrepreneurs, you got this great template, the task list, right? Everything you need to do to rehab your house, everything you need to do to open up a new store or franchise. And you're just killing it. You're going and you're going and you're going. And then all of a sudden, you're like, hold it. I forgot this one thing. And you're literally, if we were to use the alphabet as an example, you're like, I don't know, L, M, N, O, Q, P, R. You're way downstream and you're like, hold it. I didn't do this thing. And you got to go back. It's not too late. As in the case today. Well, that's where I am right now. What we're talking about today, what this episode is about the how your business name is killing your fundability. Now, if you've been to the boot camp, you already know what I'm talking about. If you've been to some of my web classes or other education pieces, you may have heard about this. But in my podcast, I'm so far downstream with sharing things that work, things that don't work, etc. And what do I find? I haven't even talked about business names and business funding codes that kill you and your fundability, right? Your business is completely, you're on a blacklist and no one's going to touch you. So what am I talking about? Let's get started. All right. There are industries out there that are not fundable. Banks, top tier banks, the top 33 banks, which are the top tier 4 and the 29 tier or tier 1, top 4 tier 1, and the 29 other tier 2s, they won't touch these industries except under special circumstances and full doc. I mean, they gotta document the hell out of you, but they're not going to deliver unsecured stated income, single page application, business lines of credit or business loans. Why? Well, these industries are suspect. These industries are ones they want to stay out of because it's either controversial or they don't like the business model. They're gambling and cannabis and porn and, believe it or not, real estate investors and credit specialists and dozens of other ones. So what I've done is we're going to talk about how to find out whether or not your business is a fundable business. And how do we do that? Well, we do it the exact same way that the lenders and everybody else do it. Let's take a look at this list. I'm going to read it. For those of you who are listening, don't despair. I'm going to read this list to you. But if any of these words are in your business name, it is to the 99th percentile, you are not fundable. Straight up. No top tier lender is going to lend to you. It includes real estate, property, resources. Now, I have to laugh because the reason why real estate property resources is are the first ones that I mentioned, because I had a client who literally their business name was Real Estate Property Resources LLC. And I'm like, dude, no longer is that a name after coaching with us, but Real Estate Property Resources, any one of those words alone is enough to get you denied. But he had all three of those names. Let's continue with the list. Estate, so as real estate or estate, like estate planning or wills, etc. Holdings, equities, credit. That was my downfall back in 2008 when I was trying to do, when I found the funding game had changed. And then in 2015, when I tried to get a Credit Sense business advisor loan, spectacular personal profile, full doc financials and tax returns for 3 years, couldn't get a dime. Why? Because I had credit in the name, and I suffered from the exact same thing you guys are learning about right now. And I'll continue to share that in a moment. So after credit is stocks, money, finance, investment, securities, prosperity, funding, wealth, assets, capital, savings. Any one of these. There are others, but these are the big ones. Any one of these names in your business, any one of these words in your business name or in the purpose of your business. You know, when you fill out your articles of organization, articles of incorporation, what's the purpose of your business? Well, some of us are like, I'm real estate investing, or I'm capital management, whatever it is. They're looking at the name of your business and what's in the description, or what the business purpose is for. So if we have a problem, so let's solve that problem, or let's find out first where that problem comes from and what we have to do next. So the thing that I want to look at here, let me pull up another slide. This is the history, because every single one of these words have a business code associated with it. And so the business codes are the ones that are actually making you unfundable. Not the words themselves, but the words drive the business codes, and the business codes drive fundability or lack of fundability. So let's go through this process. First of all, for those of you who are watching, if you're listening, I'll kind of go through the diagram. Imagine being at your Secretary of State and you're on the website and you're literally filling out your articles of organization, articles of incorporation. You fill it out and you put it in there. Resource property management, right? So you're so you type that in, you fill out the name of the business, you fill out the purpose, you hit submit. And what most of us don't know, and what will make all the sense in the world once we learn it, is that every single Secretary of State in the United States has a duty and obligation to report what types of businesses were filed in their state that month. Now, as the feds go, they've got these businesses have codes. So they go to this codex of all of the business codes using these words, and the Secretary of State clerks read your business name, read your business purpose, and go, real estate property resources. That must be a 3429. And they put in a 3429 in your form. You don't know it's happening, but it's going into their records. All right. Well, let's say 3429 is horribly unfundable because it's real estate property resources. Well, that Secretary of State reports all of these using these codes. They don't report the name of your business. They just report, we had 27 open up under 3742. We had 6 open up under 1814, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's how they report. And then that's how the feds make their their monthly and annual reports of the growth of the economy. That's how when you're listening to news or whatever, they're saying the tech sector increased by 10%. How do we know that? Because there were 10% more tech businesses that were applied for and incorporated or filed as an LLC. Well, if you've got these tech resources, probably because it has something technology in the business name or the business address. Most people, no matter how big or how small you are as a businesswoman or a businessman, most of us don't know this process because it has to happen after the fact. That's what we're solving for today. So here we are, Secretary of State, now behind your back, assigns a code to your business. Now, every single lender that's not a hard money lender, that's not a private lender, so all commercial lenders, all public lenders, have access to the behind the curtain access to your filings, your company filings. So what do? They Google, they're like Real Estate Property Resources LLC. Great, enter, and they look it up and they go right over and see what the code is. And they have codes that are forbidden to lend to. Now, you don't know what's going on, but the lenders are now looking up the Secretary of State, the Secretary of State filings, and seeing you're already unfundable. They're not going to lend to you, right? Now, to make matters worse, the big banks most of the big banks report their data to the what's called the SBFE, the Small Business Financial Exchange. So it's not a credit bureau. It's more of it's a collection of it's not a credit bureau because they don't keep those kind of records. They want to know what states and what regions and what cities, how safe is it to lend in those for business loans, right? So they report to the SBFE, and then these business credit reports, if you're looking on YouTube, if you're looking in on our getfundablepodcast.com, there are three main business credit reporting agencies or groups: Dun & Bradstreet, Experian Business, not to be confused with Experian on your personal, and Equifax Business, not to be confused with Experian, Equifax Personal. These guys buy data from the business lenders, and guess what happens to be part of the data that they purchase? That's right. They buy that code. So right now, if you were to pull your credit report, business credit report from Dun & Bradstreet, Experian Business, and Equifax Business, you're going to see your business codes right there in broad daylight being broadcast to every future lender in the universe. And they all get the memo that you're not fundable, that they don't want to lend to your industry type. So what do we do about it? Well, first of all, understand that when you do know what codes are fundable, you can amend the Secretary of State to add those codes. All right. I did it in the state of Utah and in the state of Texas, where we have various filings. But more importantly, you're in a position to go once you find out what codes are fundable, what code you want to use that is fundable. Then you can also you update the Secretary of State, but you can also update the business credit bureaus so that they have the right business code, so they broadcast a fundable business code. All right. So the big question is how to do it. Well, in our broadcast, we need way more time to go through the details. I'm saying it can be done. This is one of those where I got to tell you, most of the time I don't preach the gospel of my boot camp, but all the changes you need to know and make are in the boot camp. And I'm going to tell you got to go. GetFundableBootcamp.com. getfundablebootcamp.com. You guys know I'm true and faithful. I don't mention in my podcast, I don't sell anything anywhere really, but this is a solve that you must do. And the podcast we need way more decks, way more intel, and you've got to be able to know how to go look these up and make these changes. So I'm just going to refer you to Get Fundable Bootcamp, but more than anything, you guys need to know that it's not okay. It is not okay that this is happening behind your back. Absolutely, Nova. I'm glad you joined us. And you're right. I'm glad you're able to see for yourself. This is craziness that all this is being done behind our back. So I'm telling you where to get the information, and that you need to change the information. It's way longer a conversation in order to of how, because it isn't just about, you've got to know where the codes are, you've got to do the research, and some of you may even need to make your entity fundable. Some of you may need to create a funding entity and then loan to your real estate business or your finance business or your gym business or other business, because the activities you do may not be fundable. But if you establish, we go into great detail in the boot camp, you guys, if you establish a business funding entity that the banks absolutely love, and I'll show you how to do that. The banks absolutely love, then you can lend to your otherwise unfundable businesses, right? And so, Teddy, I'm glad you're asking. He asks, or she asks, what are the fundable NCIS codes? Well, first of all, they're called SIC and NAICS codes. For that, way too valuable information, I'm going to refer you to getfundablebootcamp.com. Teddy, come and join me. Let's go through this together, because the codes are not enough. The fundable business entity and the codes go together. So I don't want you to get you in a mess, but valuable information, right, Teddy? I want you guys to come and join me at the boot camp, because it is worth every single penny and 100 times more to find out this and 33 other strategies. So this is Merrill Chandler, your host of the Get Fundable podcast and your guide to the Get Fundable universe. I will see you on the inside.
Thank you for listening to the Get Fundable podcast. Please leave comments, because Merrill would love to read about your aha moments from this episode. And be sure to visit getfundable.com to read our blog, get important links, join our community, and much, much more, like ordering Merrill's tell-all book that is changing the world, The New F Word. And you got to tell your friends about this podcast, because we want them to get fundable too.